Good evening, everybody. So today we'll discuss about the rationale of pathophysiological approach to prevent and treat corona infection. Last almost more than 2 months, I was going through all the literature, the types of presentations, different patients coming with the different symptoms, and we were trying to evaluate these patients. Last few days, I have been through all the literature, and with the help of all the knowledge what we got last almost 3 months with the different guidelines, papers, and clinical practice, I come to conclusion of prophylactic medications for corona infection. And those people who are come in contact or contact person of the corona, there is a lot of chaos going on all over the world. How to prevent coronavirus, and there are drugs which are prescribed to doctors, to the healthcare workers, and there are distribution of different various medications by their different faculties, different types of pathies, and all are saying yes, it is effective, but the rationalization we still don't know. Here I have done all efforts to prove that this is the drugs which we can use in our clinical practice so that we can at least save all these patients. So my prescription of prophylaxis of medicine is cetirizine, fexofenadine. Okay. So my prescription for prophylaxis of coronavirus is cetirizine or fexofenadine with montelukast or xylitol. And the patient has come with the contact of a COVID patient who had rhinorrhea or sneezing, first generation of antihistaminics along with montelukast. Then second drug is theophylline for mucus and cough, ranitidine or famotidine, and paracetamol, which is actually a selective inhibitor of COX-2, along with, if required, your HCQS or chloroquine. So when you see these patients, how will further manage this patient? Let's talk about this. Whenever any bacteria, virus, or any organism come into contact with the epithelial cells as a form of stimulus, this basic pathophysiology, dendritic cell, mast cells, and macrophages, they get stimulated. And once they get stimulated, they are recognized by these cells, and this leads to release of some mediators like amines and cytokines. Now, whenever these mediators come into picture, they recruit leukocytes at the site in the form of neutrophils, monocytes, or macrophages, and this leads to vasodilatation, increased vascular permeability, which you see in the form of edema. There are different growth factors also secreted by neutrophils and macrophages, and this will lead to either elimination of microbes or dead tissue, or will lead to repairing with the help of fibroblast. So when you see a fibroblast, this will repair in the form of deposition of extracellular matrix, proteins, or cells. So in that case, how corona is affecting our body, that we'll see. Now, you can see here, there is active stimulation in the form of virus to the airway epithelium. And when you see airway epithelium, what it does, this particular antigen, maybe viral protein, maybe in bacteria or allergen, here we are talking about COVID-19, this dendritic cells, which is called as antigen presenting cell, they get activated. This particular viral protein stimulates the thymocyte, stromal lipoprotein, and interleukins. They will activate dendritic cell. Dendritic cell is taken to the draining lymph nodes these migrate to the draining lymph nodes and they activate CD4 T cell. This CD4 T cell, you know, CD4 count we do in HIV patients. This CD4 cell will stimulate T cell to form B cell and plasma cells. The TH cells, that is 1 and 2, here TH2 cell is activated, and this activated TH2 cell lead to formation of interleukins. They are migrated to the epithelial, subepithelial area where the goblet cells, which are mucus secreting cells in the airway epithelium, the number of these cells increase, they become metaplastic, and because of this metaplasia, number of mucin secreting cells are increased. You get excessive mucus production in the lumen, where you see a patient having sputum production. Similarly, this interleukin also lead to some release of chemotactic factors and accumulates eosinophil, mast cells and basophils. And these mast cell, basophils and eosinophils, they degranulate and they lead to cascade of events. Now, with the help of plasma cells, which is produced by the B cell, these plasma cells secrete IgE, and IgE has an Fc portion of what is called as epsilon receptor for IgE, receptor region of IgE, and they further attach to mast cells and basophils, and this basophil will again lead to stimulation of all the cascade of events to occur. So it is very important that how are we going to treat this patient, right? Now this event in the form of tissue injury lead to change in the vascular permeability. It leads to vasodilatation, increased permeability and leukocyte recruitment. You can see here there is a gap between the two cells. This is called as endothelial gapping. You must have read many of the things on the WhatsApp and different literature that the endothelial cells, they go apart from each other, tight junctions are getting away, and that's why there is increased permeability, and that lead to edema. Now because of this also there is a platelet aggregation and adhesions molecule for the neutrophil, that is called as neutrophil adhesion molecules secreted by the endothelial cells. These neutrophils get attached, and through this endothelial gap they come out into the interstitial space, and in this interstitial space either they will kill the microbiome or they will recruit more and more inflammatory cell stimulation, and this stimulation will again release some cytokines and chemotactic factors with the aggravation of complement activation along with the coagulation activation. With the help of platelet and endothelial cells, you get all the cascade of inflammatory events. So in the patients with COVID, you see the clotting where you get various thrombosis. I have seen almost 7-8 patients of DVT in this particular period of 3 months. I have seen patients with intestinal ischemia, bowel ischemia. We had to operate them. 2 of them have lost almost 3.5 feet of their intestine, but unfortunately they did not come positive. They are fortunately, I can say, they did not come positive, but might be we were in very initial phase of corona in the first week of January, so awareness was also less compared to, and this coagulation activation, vasodilatation, increased permeability all lead to presentation of different ways of coronavirus infection. Whenever there is a tissue injury with the various forms of like trauma, ischemia, neoplasms, infectious agent or bacterium, so these tissue injury lead to production of different inflammatory mediators, and these inflammatory mediators secrete vasoactive amines, that is histamine, serotonin, bradykinin, anaphylotoxins, leukotrienes, prostaglandins, PAF and nitric oxide. Each of these has a role in the presentation of the COVID virus. How we can prevent that with the help of all these knowledge that I am going to explain in this particular coming few slides. There are chemotatic factors, complement 5A, lipoxygenase product, different chemokines, and then recruitment and stimulation of inflammatory cells as an acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. So when you see such things, that patients who are having release of all these chemical markers in the form of chemical mediators, you get patients with symptoms because of all these vasoactive mediators. Now, considering this, there are two types of different mediators coming from the plasma and the cell. The plasma, you get H1 factor and complement activation, which leads to clotting and fibrinolysis that will lead to bleeding or thrombosis. Whenever lytic fibrinolytic system are activated, you will get presentation like bleeding everywhere. I lost one of my patient who was admitted around say 11 a.m. in the morning, and next day 1:30 he started bleeding overnight, and we could not save him. That was a DIC. Another patient had a huge clot in the left ventricle, left atrium. The patient was asymptomatic, health and hardy. I think he was 38-year-old and absolutely fine till that day. Suddenly started abdominal pain and there was bowel ischemia, and echo showed that there was a big thrombus in the left ventricle. And we have to treat this patient only by operative, and fortunately he was survived, but COVID test came negative. So these clotting factors take a major role in an inflammation. Then complement activation also lead to increased vascular permeability. Whereas different cells, what I've told about mast cells, platelets, and inflammatory cells and endothelium, they act on the vascular endothelium and lead to increased permeability and edema. Now, considering that, there is another important thing what we learn about inflammation. This slide is very common. Many times we see this. Cell membranes have phospholipids and there is arachidonic acid. These arachidonic acid metabolites are formed when there is a inflammation. And we know that our aspirin, indomethacin, combiflam, diclofenac, all these are cyclooxygenase, or what we say etocoxib. These all are cyclooxygenase inhibitors. So this cyclooxygenase acts on the arachidonite and they form prostaglandins. Prostaglandins PGI2, E2, G2, H2 and thromboxane A2. There are various prostaglandins and they do vasodilation and increase vascular permeability. Now see, it is very important how they act. Because of vasodilation and inhibition of platelet aggregation, PGI2 leads to more and more hypotension or bleed, right? Through the thromboxane E2, there is a vasoconstriction and platelet aggregation. This leads to thrombosis. So some patients, they get thrombosis. Some patients, they bleed. They bleed because there is an aggregation which is inhibited. They get thrombosed because of platelet aggregation is increased. And PGT2 and PGE2 lead to vasodilatation, increased vascular permeability that leads to more and more edema. And this, because of extravasation, lead to hypotension and shock syndrome. Similarly, there is another enzyme called 5-lipoxygenase. This 5-lipoxygenase, with the help of 5-hydroxy-eicosapentaenoic acid, leads to chemostaxis. They recruit neutrophils at the site. They also secrete leukotrienes. Leukotrienes A2, B2, C2, D2 and E2. There are 4 leukotrienes, 5 leukotrienes, and they are involved in bronchospasm and increased vascular permeability. See, these leukotrienes we have been using montelukast, zafirlukast and pantelukast, and this montelukast leads to anti-leukotriene action and prevents bronchospasm and increased vascular permeability in patients with allergic rhinitis, in patients with asthma. The same montelukast is effective in patients of contact person of COVID-19. This leukotriene as well as lipoxin A2, A4 and B4, inhibition of this will also lead to further inhibition of inflammation. So drugs like thromboxane A2 inhibitors like aspirin or even paracetamol, acetaminophen, they are good COX-2 inhibitor. If you use this COX-2 inhibitor in these patients, there is no side effects such as apart from gastritis, but no long-term side effect. But these drugs can prevent your inflammation. Use of Montelukast or anti-leukotrienes will help in the management of prevention of further inflammation, prevention of bronchoconstriction, and increase vascular mobility, permeability. Now here we see how the normal defense mechanism occurs. I have talked about pathophysiological changes in the form of tissue injury, release of chemical mediators, and how the vascular permeability increases, and what are the role of leukotrienes, what is the role of COX-2 and lipoxygenase. Now here I have told you that dendritic cells get stimulated once the antigen is presented to the dendritic cells. It stimulates or activates CD4 into the draining lymph node, and CD4 cell decides which way to go. Whenever there is a viral load more, where the antigen is more, virus is more prominent, more powerful, with the help of interleukin 4, you get activation of Th thymocyte 2 lymphocyte cells. This lymphocyte 2 or thymocyte 2 lymphocyte secretes different cytokines like interleukin 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, and 13. And they will stimulate eosinophil, basophils, and mast cells and plasma cells, which will lead to airway edema, which will lead to goblet cell hyperplasia. This will lead to submucosal subepithelial fibrosis and smooth muscle cell contraction, hypertrophy, and hyperplasia. That will lead to airway inflammation. This is a process what you get in patients with corona or COVID-19. While CD4, if it secretes interleukin 12, this will inhibit CD4 Th2 formation, and it will lead to formation of Th1 CD4 lymphocytes. Once CD4 T1 is activated, this will secrete interferon gamma, interleukin 2, and TNF alpha. And see what it does. This will lead to low response, low physiological response in the form of IgG, and this will preserve the normal airway, normal blood vessels, normal smooth muscle contraction. Because of low levels of IgG and low levels of this, your integrity of the airway is maintained. Because of secretion of interferon gamma in maintaining of this airway as well as inhibiting CD4 Th2, this maintenance of CD4 Th2 or killing of this CD4 Th2 by interferon gamma, it has major role in treatment of COVID-19 in patients with coronavirus.